Hey, what's going on? It's Steven Zeiner. This is a special edition of the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Sunday, October 22nd, 2023. This is a copy of the front page of my local newspaper, The Morning Call. There's an article here that says, let's see if I can get this in focus, power plant seeks okay to burn tires. Power plant seeks okay to burn tires, and the subheadline says, energy produced at Panther Creek will be used to mine Bitcoin. Okay. Now, this is a somewhat lengthy article. I'm not going to go through all of it today. I do want to draw your attention to a portion of it, short portion of it, right here on the front page that says the following. Energy generated at the Panther Creek plant is retained by Stronghold for its crypto mining operations. None of it goes into the power grid. I'm going to read that one more time. Energy generated at the Panther Creek plant is retained by Stronghold for its crypto mining operations. None of it goes into the power grid. Well, you know, journalism is under attack here in the United States of America and arguably around the world. There are voices that have grown louder and louder and louder over the past 4, 5, 6 years that would seek to label the press as enemies of the state, enemies of the people. There are voices that would seek to label all journalism as junk journalism, as fake news. And I gotta tell you something. As somebody who truly, passionately believes in an independent, credible media, it's very, very difficult to stand up for that, to stand up for this idea that we have a independent, credible media that does mission-critical work in reporting reality to the rest of us, right? It's hard for me to stand up for that ideal when pretty much right at the beginning of this article that I'm reading in my own local newspaper, I see something that is a provable falsehood. Okay, not like, hey, it's open to interpretation, Stephen. You got to give the benefit of the doubt here. This is a very black and white issue, okay? And it's presented as such. I'm going to read this one more time. Energy generated at the Panther Creek plant is retained by Stronghold for its crypto mining operations. None of it goes into the power grid. How do I defend that when it's false? How do I push back against those forces that would seek to discredit media as fake news, to call journalism junk journalism, to describe journalists and the media outlets they work for as enemies of the people, enemies of the state? It's impossible to do that when I see something like this, because it is so painfully wrong, literally wrong. Let's take a look, for example, at the Form 10K, which is a form that Stronghold Digital Mining files with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. In the year 2022, under operating revenues, there's a category that says energy operations. The amount listed is roughly here $46.8 million. That's for energy operations in 2022. Cryptocurrency operations, 59.2 million. Okay? Nearly half of Stronghold Digital Mining's revenue in 2022 came from energy operations. What does that mean? It means the electricity, the energy that's created both at Panther Creek, which is the subject of this article in my local newspaper, and Scrubgrass, which is Stronghold Digital Mining's Western Pennsylvania waste coal reclamation facility. Both facilities, I might add, are waste coal reclamation facilities. There are times when the electricity both these facilities produce, right, the energy they produce, is sold to the PJM grid. How in the world can an article say energy generated at the Panther Creek plant is retained by Stronghold for its crypto mining operations? None of it goes into the power grid. That just doesn't make any sense to me. In many ways, this was a very, very, very disappointing article, and I fear that it feeds into a narrative which I still disagree with fundamentally, that journalism has evolved or devolved, I suppose you could say, into junk journalism, that it's fake news, and that journalism and journalists are somehow like enemies of the state or enemies of the people. I fundamentally don't believe that. But now, how do I turn to the people that I oftentimes cross paths with, who read something like this, who know immediately like this is just false, and then they look at me and they're like, "Hey, are you going to still stand up for the media, Stephen?" I mean, yes, I'm going to stand up for the media. I'm going to stand up for the idea that there should be and that there hopefully is an independent, credible, right, factually accurate media. And hey, listen, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I mean, we all make mistakes, right? I mean, this isn't about asking for perfection. I don't think it's that, like, I don't know that this is even that difficult of a question to get right, though. I'm disappointed, as I'm sure you are as well. I mean, you may not necessarily live in Pennsylvania as I do. I live here. I breathe the air. I drink the water. I care deeply about the environment. And I'm concerned that when articles like this are published, it just makes it harder to find common ground. Because inevitably there are going to be those who I interact with who, as I just said a moment ago, they're going to point to this and they're going to be, how can you continue to defend and stand up for what you see as some kind of independent, credible, accurate media when, look, see what they did to the company that you happen to be a co-owner of, that you're a shareholder of. Look at what kind of BS is being talked about as it relates to your company. Now, look, to be fair, I think this article has aspects of it that I think are useful and that I think can be a good starting point for meaningful conversation. It's just really, really tough, though, to get to those parts of the article when right up front you're met with something that's just so factually inaccurate. I really do wish that, I just wish that if we're going to have debates about environmental policy, if we're going to have debates about specific facilities in our area, which, by the way, employ members of our own community, I think we need to do a better job of really, truly trying to understand what's going on. Hey, I get it. Sometimes an assignment editor, they're sending a lot of, assignments one's way, and it's like, hey, I've got a deadline. I got to kind of just get this out there. But we got to get this right? We got to really try to get this right because the stakes are sky high. They really are. So, okay, that's going to be all for now. I'll see you again tomorrow.